of the common causes of mental illnesses among youths. So you are very much eager to learn. In as much as we take in physical food, breakfast, lunch, and supper, it's very important also to be taking in mental food so that we develop as human beings, we develop our senses and everything that it encompasses. So it will be a privilege today to learn about a topic that we have on hand. And with me, I am not alone. I have two individuals, as you have seen. Chanda Mtambo, who is the secretary of Rising Youth Foundation, and also joined by Ebenisha Chona, doctor rather. I think you beat me for that one. Dr. Ebenisha Chona, who is MedTalk president and also founder of Zambia Nursing Foundation. Guys, we'll start with you, Chona. Good afternoon and welcome to the program.
Good afternoon and good afternoon, viewers. I'm glad to be here and thank you for hosting us.
Great. Chanda, good afternoon and welcome to the program.
Good afternoon, Mr. Hillard. Thank you so much for having me, and good afternoon, viewers.
Sure. Okay, so let's just start from here. I think we need to understand the definition and what mental health really is, basically. So, what is mental health? I'll start with you, Doc.
All right. I would define mental health. Generally, health has got three components. So we have the biological aspect, the psychological aspect, as well as the social aspect. So when it comes to psychological aspect, that's where we have things to do with mental health. So what is mental health? Of course, the health aspect is the state of being well, or the state of being everything fine. So now when we specifically say mental health, it means your thoughts, your feelings, how you view things, it is in the right senses.
Great. So I want to be mentally healthy as well, and I want to be fit. Just like I'm physically fit, I need to be mentally fit. Like I do, I become resourceful and productive to the society and myself, of course. So what are some of the activities that I need to engage myself in to promote my health? Chanda, you can start with.
Just repeat the question again.
What are some of the activities that myself I should indulge in for me to promote my mental health or my health at large?
Okay, so you can venture in activities that will help you ease your mental health, like exercising. You can engage in sports that you like. Yeah, I think that's what I can say.
Great. So activities that promote mental health. Doctor, you have more to add on that?
Yeah, just to add on, I'm sure there's what we usually say, maybe those people are toxic, no, those people are good. So social interaction is also very important. So knowing who to associate with might also ease your work. And also doing what you love doing the most. For example, Mr. Hirad loves hosting events such as this one to promote mental health. So you being here, of course, is... and I'm sure you're not sad being here. You're happy to be here, isn't it?
I'm smiling.
Yeah, so doing what you love is one of them. And just as she mentioned, exercise. And also adequate sleep. You need to sleep and you need to eat. Because if you don't sleep, your mind, your brain need to rest as well. So sleep is very important as well. Yeah.
Okay. So maybe let me just get to understand this.
Yes.
We've just talked about mental health as a whole, where you've said like we need physical food, we also need mental food in order to maintain a mind stability.
Yeah.
So I think you highlighted on different parts where you said health can be physical and mental. Yes. So physical health, I think maybe if I got you right, we can give an example of maybe headache, abdominal pain, diabetes, hypertension, and the likes. Yeah, what are some of the common mental illnesses out there that you would bring to light that we need to get to know about? Because most of us just think, okay, that person is not mentally okay. We don't really understand what is really wrong with them and how we can differentiate or distinguish the different types of mental illnesses that are there. What are some of the few mental illnesses that are there that you'd love to share? Let's start with you, Chand.
Some of the mental illnesses that are there are depression, alcohol-induced psychosis, We also have anxiety disorders, and also I think schizophrenia, though it's not that, it's not that common, but yeah.
Great. Okay, so interesting. So it looks like we have a lot of mental health, mental illnesses rather. So just to get to understand those, I think you know we need to really get to know and enter into the nitty-gritties. What could be the causes or possible causes of these mental illnesses, or what could be causes or predisposing factors that we need to highlight?
All right. So looking at the causes of mental health among youths, I would say to start with, every youth is at risk of having these mental health illnesses, and it usually doesn't matter whether you are from well-to-do family or maybe you are poor. Mental health affects everyone. It doesn't matter what you do. And so there are a variety of reasons and also causes of mental health among youths, and ranging from, as you can see, about 25% of youth across the world who are aged 19 to 29 years, they are not employed. So lack of employment also really plays a key role in promoting these illnesses, because if you don't have money, you don't have you don't know how to take care of yourself because you lack the ability to source for money and the like. So that is also one of the causes. Number two cause, of course, that I mentioned, could be peer pressure. Social media as well. When you see your friends doing a lot, and you see your friends, adding on to their life, and their life seems so nice,
so great. Yeah, you feel like, oh my God, am I
Yes.
really missing out on these
Exactly,
things?
and you also start panicking. You want to get in, and you end up maybe abusing drugs for you to calm yourself. And
oh yeah,
you are
definitely.
worsening the situation as well.
I second with that one. Social media has been a factor. Chanda, would you add more? What do you have on those?
On the causes of mental illness amongst the youth.
Yes.
So I can say unmanaged stress can cause mental illness, given that not everyone knows how to manage their stress. This leads to acute stress and also chronic stress, because when your neuroreceptors in your brain are not well aligned, that you can, what can I say? You can go into something called acute stress, which if not managed can cause a mental illness like depression, because you have depression is extremely low mood. So if your stress is not managed, it can lead to that.
Great knowledge there. I hope you are learning and listening. You are tuning to Rising Youth Program on Sun FM TV radio. My name is Hilad Kebi presenting, and we're just talking about causes of mental health and mental illnesses among youths, and we really want to get to know and find out more about mental health. Today I'm joined with Chandan Tambo, Secretary of Rising Youth Foundation, and Benisha Chona, who's Meditalk President and also founder of Zambia Nursing Foundation. So now you've just highlighted that there are neurotransmitters that are involved. I think you've mentioned something about that. Medical personnel, as you know better. So I would really love to get to know, like, I'm a normal person. Perhaps I'm abusing substances like drugs. I'm not managing my stress, or I'm living a kind of a sedentary life, or whatever it could be that could predispose me to mental illnesses. How would you define the process of mental health? Like, how would it start from me being normal to having mental illnesses? Like, maybe if we talk about physical illnesses, I could have maybe I was bitten by a mosquito, I get malaria. For mental illnesses, how is the process? How does it start, and what does it really affect for me to get mentally healed?
Right. So just as she mentioned, she talked of some neurons, some neurotransmitters and the like. Of course, when we talk about mental health, it has to originate from the brain, of course. The way we perceive what we see, the way we perceive what we hear, affects how our brain processes information. And based on how it processes information, there are certain hormones, of course, which are stress causers. and also there are some hormones which are feel-good hormones like oxytocin. So just not to go deep into the medical terms. So when you perceive something and it is kind of causing stress, so the body is going to be overwhelmed. So it is going to produce some certain hormones, and those certain hormones, of course, they are going to affect the way even your heart pumps. You know, just like if you see a lion, you will not breathe the same way you breathe when you see a dog.
Yeah,
You get, yeah. So there is an interplay of the mental aspect. Of course, the brain has to respond. When it responds, now depending on the response, is now what will determine either you're going to have schizophrenia, if you're going to have depression, if you're going to have anxiety, and from those now, if you have anxiety, what are the symptoms again? If you have depression, what are the symptoms? So you find that these are people who become irritable. Maybe just a small stimuli, you are upset. Someone just greets you in a certain way, you don't like it, you're upset. You know, you get it. Yeah, so if it is anxiety, of course, also there are some people where others, they don't even want to interact with others. Even in shows like this, you find that they tend to stay away from friends. They are always alone because, they are anxious and they are depressed. Kind of, there's what you call depressants. That's why when we reach to management, I think we'll be able to talk more about how to break it down. Yes.
Yeah. So you've just talked about one important thing that has really caught into my mind, where you mentioned about in the process of explaining mental health, you've just highlighted something which is very important to say. Sometimes people may have feelings and may present with these signs and symptoms. It's like I get to understand, when you are physically ill, you easily get to say, okay, I'm really not feeling okay, I'm not fine. Is it easy to tell if you are mentally disturbed to say, I'm not okay, I think I may have this medical condition and all that? Do people get to know? Because it's like mental health is one of the undermined parts of health. Like, people don't really pay much attention to it, but they don't get to realize how it affects them negatively, how it's affect their productivity and their lives. Is it easy for one to identify any mental issue that they're having? Maybe Chanda, what's your take on that one?
My take on this one is that I feel it's 50-50. I feel some people are able to realize that they are going through mental illness, others are not able to realize, such that external people are going to, they are going to spot out that you are having a mental illness. So, for example, myself, since I'm learned and I know how mental illness comes about, I can be able to identify to say, no, I am depressed. No, I think I've got anxiety issues, because I know how they come about and the signs and symptoms that a person will present with. But for a person who has maybe treated mental illness as just like a by-the-way thing, I don't think they can be able to spot out that they are depressed or they're anxious or they're being aggressive. But people from their community or family are going to notice a mood and affect change on this person. That's my take on that one.
Great indeed. It has just reminded me, a man was telling me to say there was this man was bitten by a snake, and then before they could even take him to the hospital, this man collapsed and he died. So when they reached to the hospital, they got the snake and tested, and then they said, no, this snake is a non-venomous snake. It has no poison at all. So probably the man died due to apprehension, fear and the panic. So mental health is one of the most important things that we don't really know how it affects us. Like, if you try to get from this example, you do realize to say it was mentally disturbing and he was panicking to realize that, I've been bitten by a snake, I'm not going to survive, I'm going to die. I'm just trying to give that picture into mind. And you mentioned to say, as a learned, you know how to identify mental illnesses. In a short phrase, Ebenezer, what are some of the signs and symptoms of the early signs and symptoms of mental illnesses that you can highlight?
All right. So to start with, quite right, it's very hard for someone who does not really know more about mental health illnesses to know when they are sick. Others actually, and that's more reason why we are raising this awareness. many times that people think when you are sick of mental health issues, maybe you've been bewitched, maybe you start suspecting your grandmother or the oldest person in the community. Yeah, so some of the areas signs, of course, just as we mentioned, someone just avoid the social interaction. That's number one. And number two, others, they tend to, I would say, perhaps it's either they sleep a lot, others maybe they don't sleep at all, they develop insomnia, whereby someone throughout the night, maybe they're just on the phone, because when they sleep, others maybe they won't even catch sleep. And there are many other early signs, but those are the few ones. But when it becomes chronic now, that's where now we have issues where someone, at some point when it is worse, they even tend to hate their own families, to hate their own friends, because of simple things. Yes.
Great. We are discussing mental health, how you can promote mental health and causes of mental health promotion and mental illnesses amongst youths. This is Rising Youths program, and thank you for catching us. If you've just tuned in, so this is where we've reached. I've been hosted. I'm hosting Ebenezer Chona, Medtalk president, and Chanda Mtambo, who's secretary of Rising Youth Foundation. So to hear where we've reached, we've just talked about the signs and symptoms of mental health, the common mental health problems and issues, and predisposing factors, where we've said, we've talked about, we've exhausted actually about substance abuse, biological factors, and all those others. So now let's just get to understand, if I'm having a mental health problem or mental health issue, how can I address it? Like, how do I manage myself? Like, how is the mental problem managed? Let's start. You can briefly talk about how it can manage from the basic level. Maybe to me, since I'm having mental issues, like I realize things are not okay, and then to you as a medical team, how do you manage? Maybe let's start with you, Chand.
Okay, how you can manage your mental illness. Well, mental illness comes in two packages. There is major and minor. So for the minor mental illness, you can manage it by engaging in activities that relieve stress, because I feel most of the time a certain fraction or percentage of mental illness comes from stress. So by doing activities that relieve your stress, activities you enjoy, because we've got a certain hormone in our body called dopamine, the happiness hormone. So when you're stressed, for example, students, you're stressed, you've studied a lot, have a day that you're just going to dedicate to yourself, do things you love. That way dopamine will be produced and you'll be happy, because there is no cheat code out of life. There's this thing called the cheat code. That's why most of the time we find that the youth are abusing drugs so that they can get the dopamine hormone using the cheat code method, but that shouldn't be the case. And then for a minor thing, you can also go for counseling or talk to someone. I feel sometimes venting out really helps you to release whatever you're feeling, and that person can actually, give you some advice to help you relieve your stress or whatever that's causing you to be mentally unstable at that point.
I'm touched when you mentioned the cheat code. It's like you've just given us a view to say many people who are getting into abusing substances, maybe smoking weed, drinking alcohol, those illicit behaviors, it's because they feel they are exhausted, and they are exhausted from something. They want to feel free or run away from those things, and using those substances, they feel they will have themselves relieved out of it. And I think what you've highlighted to realize, to say there's a better way to manage your issues and your mental health. Ebenezer, what would you add on that?
All right. So just as she mentioned, there's what we call CBT. That's cognitive behavioral therapy. Yeah. So when you feel, when you identify yourself, or when people tell you that, I think you're not fine. So other than maybe reaching out to family members, your friends that you feel comfortable talking to about these issues, there are also people who are trained into psychology, people who can better handle these issues with privacy that deserves, of course, because many times that people are, they are not willing, they are quite all right willing to share their, their story, but many times that maybe they fear being judged, and they tend to withdraw from sharing their
and just
experiences.
adding from that, what is your organization as Mentalk Zambia Nursing Foundation doing to promote mental health? In a quick up, we have 3 minutes remaining to the program. What is the organization doing about that?
Oh, all right. So Mentalk Zambia is an organization that is aimed at bridging gaps in the healthcare profession. And a program like this one, we do promote that. So in Lusaka, we are actually having some radio shows as well at
great.
Unza Radio,
Great.
where we are raising awareness on things like stroke, autism, and other neglected mental health illnesses. So we also reach out to communities using our community health department. We also reach out to schools where we raise awareness about this, because just as I mentioned, 1 to 7 of school-going children or pupils, they are actually affected with mental health.
Great. Let's get to you, Chanda. We have 2 organizations here. Dr. Benisha has just highlighted. What is your organization doing to promote mental health? In a minute, how would you justify that?
So Rising Youth Foundation is promoting mental health by visiting schools, secondary schools, primary schools, and spreading awareness. We also have programs like this. Every Saturday we come here to present about different issues aligning with mental illness. And we also have a nursing foundation called ROI Nursing Agencies that provides not only mental health but physical wellness as well. It's a home-based care organization of nurses and doctors. So for you to have a good mental health, your physical wellness must be also on peak.
Great. So we've been discussing mental health and common causes of mental health, and we've just highlighted as we are into this mental health month, which is March, and starting tomorrow we are having African Liberation Week, where different countries across the continent are igniting and also promoting issues. And in our country, mental health is not an exceptional. So it has been me, Hilad KB, presenting the program. It has been an awesome discussion where we've discussed, and with the fellas, we've just highlighted most of the important things that we need to understand about mental health. As we get into the news minute, stay blessed, promote your healthy. Your mental health is a priority. It has been me, Hilad KB. Have a mental health day.
That's nice.
Your finest radio station is responsible for the dawn of a new era in Zambian broadcasting. Capturing your favorite